Some people say you can't fall in love with the same person twice. I'm here to tell you they're wrong. My name is Eleanor. I'm 67 years old, and this is the story of how I married the love of my life, walked away after 30 years, spent a decade convincing myself I'd moved on, and then fell even deeper in love with him the second time around. I know what you're thinking. How does someone leave a 30-year marriage and end up back with the same man? Was it a mistake? Regret? Loneliness? No. It was something far more powerful than that. This is a story about two people who loved each other deeply, but forgot how to see each other. It's about the space we sometimes need to grow, the lessons we learn when we think we're starting over, and the quiet miracle of finding your way back to the one person who truly knew you all along. If you've ever wondered whether true love really exists, or if you've ever questioned a choice you made years ago, stay with me, because what I'm about to share changed everything I thought I knew about love, marriage, and second chances.
I met Thomas when I was 34 years old, in the most ordinary way imaginable. We were both reaching for the same book at a small bookstore in Portland, Oregon. It was a worn copy of East of Eden, and when our hands touched, he smiled and said, "You take it. I've read it 3 times already anyway." That smile, God, that smile could light up the darkest room. We started talking, and 3 hours disappeared like minutes. He was a high school history teacher with kind eyes and this gentle way of listening that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. I was working as a nurse at the local hospital, divorced once already, and honestly not looking for anything serious. But Thomas had this way about him. He was steady, reliable, the kind of man who remembered how you took your coffee and actually showed up when he said he would. We married 8 months later, in a small ceremony by the river, surrounded by close friends and his teenage daughter from his first marriage. I remember thinking, as I looked into his eyes that day, that I'd finally found my person, my safe harbor, the man I'd grow old with. And for many years, that's exactly what we were to each other. The first decade of our marriage was beautiful. We traveled when we could afford it. Nothing fancy, just road trips through California and camping in the mountains. We hosted dinner parties where Thomas would tell stories that had everyone laughing until their sides hurt. We supported each other through career changes, health scares, and the bittersweet process of his teenage daughter growing up and moving away. We were partners, best friends, lovers who still held hands while watching television. But somewhere around year 15, something began to shift. It was so subtle at first that neither of us noticed. Thomas became more absorbed in his work, taking on extra responsibilities at school, staying late for meetings and coaching duties. I was climbing the ranks at the hospital, working longer shifts, bringing home the exhaustion of caring for others all day, with nothing left to give when I walked through our door. We stopped talking about anything deeper than grocery lists and bill payments. Our conversations became transactional, functional. We were managing a household together, but we'd stopped truly seeing each other. The intimacy faded too, not all at once, but gradually, like a photograph left too long in the sun. We'd go weeks without really touching, without that spark that used to ignite just from catching each other's eye across a room. We became roommates who shared a last name and a mortgage. The conversation that ended our marriage happened on a Tuesday evening in March. We were sitting at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals, and Thomas said the words that had been hanging between us for years. "Eleanor, are you happy?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw my own sadness reflected back at me. His hair had gone silver at the temples. There were lines around his eyes I didn't remember being there before. When had we both gotten so old? When had we stopped noticing each other aging? "No," I whispered. "Are you?" He shook his head slowly. "I love you. I'll always love you. But I don't think we're good for each other anymore. I think
I think we've forgotten how to make each other happy. And here's the thing that surprised me most. I wasn't devastated. I was relieved. We both were. It was like someone had finally given us permission to stop pretending everything was fine. We didn't need lawyers or mediators. After 30 years together, we knew how to be fair with each other, even in ending. We sold the house we'd bought when we were still full of dreams, split everything down the middle, and went our separate ways with a hug that lasted longer than it probably should have. Thomas moved into a small apartment near the school. I found a cozy townhouse on the other side of Portland, closer to the hospital. We promised to stay in touch, to remain friends. And surprisingly, we did. We'd text each other occasionally, a funny memory, a hope you're well, birthday wishes. There was no anger between us, just this quiet acceptance that we'd given each other everything we could, and it hadn't been enough. Those first few months alone were strange. I'd wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there, then remember I didn't have to anymore. I could sprawl across the entire bed, eat cereal for dinner, watch whatever I wanted on television without negotiating. It felt like freedom, and I convinced myself that's what I needed. I threw myself into living. I took a pottery class I'd been talking about for years. I traveled to Seattle to visit old friends. I went on dates, awkward, sometimes funny, mostly forgettable encounters with men who seemed nice enough but never quite right. There was Richard, a retired engineer who talked endlessly about golf. Paul, a widower who was clearly still in love with his late wife. Daniel, who was charming but 20 years younger and obviously looking for something I couldn't give him. None of them were Thomas, and I told myself that was a good thing. My friends kept encouraging me to get back out there, to enjoy my freedom, to rediscover myself. And I tried. God, I tried. I redecorated my entire townhouse, joined a book club, volunteered at a community garden. I built a life that looked full from the outside, but late at night when the distractions faded, I'd find myself thinking about Thomas, wondering what he was doing, if he was happy, if he ever thought about me the way I thought about him, not with regret exactly, but with this aching nostalgia for something we'd lost long before we ever signed those papers. 5 years passed this way, then 7, then 10. I was 65 years old, officially retired from nursing, and living what everyone told me was my best life. I had my health, my independence, my little routines and rituals. I'd made peace with the idea that romantic love was behind me, that companionship and contentment were enough. And then, one ordinary afternoon at a coffee shop I'd never been to before, I saw him. He was sitting by the window reading a newspaper, a cup of coffee steaming beside him. The afternoon light caught the silver in his hair, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. Thomas looked older, of course. We both did. But there was something different about him, too. Something softer in his posture, more peaceful in his expression. He looked content, like he'd finally figured something out. I almost turned around and left. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone in that coffee shop could hear it. But then he glanced up, and our eyes met. And that smile, that same smile from the bookstore 33 years ago, spread across his face. "Eleanor!" He stood up, almost knocking over his coffee. "Is that really you?" We hugged, and I swear I felt something shift in the universe. He smelled the same, felt the same, like coming home after a long, exhausting journey. We sat down, and what was supposed to be a quick hello turned into 3 hours of talking. Really talking, the way we used to in those early years. He told me about his life, how he'd finally retired from teaching, how he'd taken up woodworking and was building furniture in his garage, how his daughter had given him 2 beautiful grandchildren who visited every weekend. I told him about my pottery, my volunteer work, about the trip I'd taken to Ireland by myself last year. We laughed about the disastrous dates we'd both been on, the well-meaning friends who kept trying to set us up with completely wrong people. And then, as the coffee shop was getting ready to close, Thomas said something that caught me completely off guard. "I think about you, Eleanor, more than I probably should. I think about all the things I took for granted, the way you used to hum while you cooked, how you'd fall asleep reading and I'd have to take the book out of your hands, the sound of your laughter. I didn't appreciate those things when I had them. I thought we'd have forever." My throat tightened. "We had 30 years, Thomas. That's more than a lot of people get." "I know, but I've dated other women, nice women, good women, and none of them were you." He reached across the table and touched my hand, just his fingertips against mine. "I'm not saying this to make things complicated. I needed you to know that letting you go was the right decision for who we were then, but it's the choice I regret most in my life." I couldn't speak. Tears were streaming down my face, and I didn't even try to stop them. We started seeing each other after that. Not dating exactly. We were both too scared to call it that. Just spending time together. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into dinners. He came to one of my pottery exhibitions, and I went to his grandson's birthday party. It felt different this time, lighter somehow. We weren't trying to build a life together or meet each other's expectations. We were just enjoying each other's company, with no pressure, no agenda. We could talk about anything, our fears, our mistakes, the ways we'd both grown during those 10 years apart. One evening, about 4 months after that first coffee shop reunion, we were walking through Forest Park, the same trails we used to hike when we were younger. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, and Thomas stopped walking. "Eleanor, I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear me out before you say anything." My heart started racing again. "Okay." "These past few months with you have been the happiest I've been in years. Maybe the happiest I've ever been. Because this time I know what I have. I'm not taking a single moment for granted. I'm 70 years old and I don't have time to play games or pretend I don't feel what I feel." He took both my hands in his. "I'm in love with you. I never stopped loving you, but this is different. This is deeper. This is me seeing you, really seeing you for the incredible woman you are, not just the wife I got comfortable with. And I know we failed once, but I believe we could do it right this time. If you're willing to try." I looked into his eyes, those same kind eyes that had drawn me in all those years ago, and I felt something I hadn't felt in so long. Hope. Real, terrifying, exhilarating hope. I didn't answer him right away, not because I didn't know what I wanted, but because I needed him to understand what I'd learned during those 10 years apart. "Thomas," I said, my voice shaking, "I love you too. I think I've loved you through every single day we were apart. But I'm not the same woman you married 30 years ago. And you're not the same man I left." "I know," he said softly. "No, listen to me. I learned how to be alone. I learned that I don't need someone to complete me. I'm already whole. I learned to speak up when I'm unhappy instead of swallowing it down until it poisons everything. I learned that love isn't enough if we're not willing to do the work, to keep choosing each other even when it's hard." I squeezed his hands. "If we do this, it has to be different. We can't fall into those same patterns. We can't stop communicating. We can't take each other for granted ever again." His eyes were wet with tears. "I know. God, Eleanor, I know. I spent 10 years learning the same lessons. I went to therapy, I read books, I examined every way I failed you, failed us. I learned that being steady and reliable isn't the same as being present. I learned that showing up physically isn't enough if you're not emotionally available. I learned that I was so busy being the good husband that I forgot to be your lover, your friend, your partner in all the ways that actually matter. We stood there on that trail, both of us crying, both of us terrified and hopeful in equal measure. "So what do we do?" I whispered. "We start over, but smarter this time. We date. We take it slow. We build something new instead of trying to resurrect something that died." He smiled through his tears. "We fall in love with who we are now, not who we were then." And that's exactly what we did. We dated for a year before we even discussed living together again. Real dating. He'd pick me up at my door with flowers. We'd try new restaurants, go to concerts, take weekend trips to the coast. We talked about everything. Our fears, our needs, the things that had broken us the first time. We went to couples counseling together, not because we were in crisis, but because we wanted to build a foundation strong enough to last. We learned each other all over again. I discovered that Thomas had become more open, more willing to be vulnerable. He learned to express his feelings instead of burying them in work and silence. He noticed things now. If I seemed distant, if something was bothering me, he'd ask, instead of assuming everything was fine. And I had changed too. I'd learned to ask for what I needed instead of expecting him to read my mind. I'd learned that maintaining my independence didn't mean shutting him out. I'd learned that intimacy requires courage, the courage to be seen, fully and completely, even the parts of ourselves we'd rather hide. The physical intimacy came back too, but it was different, richer. We weren't young anymore, but there was something incredibly beautiful about being with someone who knew your body's history, who had seen you at your worst and your best, and loved you anyway. There was no performance, no insecurity, just two people who had found their way back to each other, grateful for every touch, every kiss, every morning waking up side by side. One night, about 18 months after that walk in Forest Park, we were cooking dinner together in my kitchen, something we'd started doing every Sunday. Thomas was chopping vegetables while I stirred a pot of soup, and suddenly he started laughing. "What's so funny?" I asked. "This. Us. The fact that I'm happier chopping onions with you at 67 than I was doing anything else in my entire life." He set down the knife and pulled me into his arms. "Eleanor Mitchell, will you marry me? Again?" I pulled back to look at his face, searching for any doubt, any hesitation. I found none. "Yes," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. "Yes, I'll marry you again." We got married on a Saturday morning in October, almost exactly 11 years after our divorce was finalized. It wasn't like our first wedding. This time, it was just us, a judge, and two close friends as witnesses. We stood in the same spot by the river where we'd married the first time, but everything felt different, sacred somehow. When Thomas slipped the ring on my finger, a simple silver band, nothing like the diamond from before, I felt a surge of emotion so powerful it nearly knocked me over. This wasn't the naive hope of a younger woman believing love would fix everything. This was the deep, bone-certain knowledge of a woman who'd lived enough life to understand what she was choosing and why. "I promise," Thomas said, his voice breaking, "to see you every single day, to never stop being curious about you, to choose you, even on the hard days. Especially on the hard days." "I promise," I said, tears streaming freely, "to tell you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, to let you love me even when I'm scared, to remember that we're on the same team, always." We're coming up on our second anniversary now, our second chance, as Thomas likes to call it. We decided to buy a new house together,
Something that was ours, not haunted by who we used to be. It's smaller than our first home, cozier. We have a garden that Thomas tends every morning and a pottery studio I set up in the garage. Our life isn't perfect. We still have disagreements. We still have days when we get on each other's nerves. But here's what's different. We talk about it. We don't let things fester. We've learned that love isn't a feeling you fall into and expect to carry you. It's a choice you make every single day, sometimes every single hour. People ask me all the time what it's like to fall in love with the same person twice. They want to know if it's better, if it's worse, if we ever regret trying again. Here's what I tell them. Loving Thomas the second time is like reading a beautiful book you adored years ago and discovering depths you missed the first time around. The story is the same, but you're different. You notice things you were too young or too distracted to appreciate before. You savor it more because you know how rare it is to get a second chance at something this precious. The truth about love after 60 is that it's not the passionate, all-consuming fire of youth. It's quieter, steadier. But God, it burns so much deeper. When Thomas reaches for my hand now, I feel it in my bones. When he tells me I'm beautiful, gray hair, wrinkles, age spots and all, I believe him because he knows he's seeing the whole of me, not just the surface. We don't have another 30 years ahead of us. We're realistic about that. We might have 20 years, or 10, or 5. We might have tomorrow. And that's exactly why we don't waste a single day taking each other for granted. Every morning, Thomas brings me coffee in bed. Every night, I kiss him goodnight, even if we've been arguing. We take walks. We laugh. We make love with the lights on and the curtains opened because we've earned these bodies, these lives, and we refuse to hide anymore. Last week, we were sitting on our porch watching the sunset, his arm around my shoulders, my head on his chest, and I felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over me. "What are you thinking about?" Thomas asked, kissing the top of my head. "I'm thinking that I wouldn't change anything. Not the divorce, not the 10 years apart, not the pain or the loneliness or the mistakes, because all of it led us here to this moment, to this love that we fought so hard to build." He pulled me closer. "You know what I've realized? We didn't fall in love twice with the same person. We fell in love with who we became because we were brave enough to let each other go and wise enough to find our way back." And that's the truth that I want you to understand, whoever you are listening to this story. If you're 60, 70, 80 years old and you think it's too late for love, you're wrong. If you're wondering whether you should reach out to someone from your past or take a chance on something new or try again after failing, please don't let fear or age or society's expectations stop you. True love doesn't expire. It doesn't have an age limit. And sometimes the greatest love story of your life is the one that took the longest to get right. I'm Eleanor. I'm 67 years old. And I am more in love today than I ever knew was possible. This is my story. This is our second chance. And if we can find our way back to each other after 30 years and a decade apart, then there's hope for anyone brave enough to believe that it's never, ever too late.
And now we want to speak directly to you. Yes, you, who stayed with Eleanor's beautiful story until the very end. What did you think? Did her journey touch something deep inside your heart? This is a real story, just like all the others we'll be sharing here on Real Hearts After 60. The names have been changed, the locations adjusted to protect privacy, but these are genuine testimonies from real people who proved that love has no expiration date. Eleanor's story
reminds us that sometimes we need to lose something precious to truly understand its value. That growth happens in the spaces between endings and new beginnings. That falling in love at 67 can be even more profound than falling in love at 34. So here's our question for you. Do you believe it's possible to fall in love with the same person twice? Have you ever wondered if a past love could become a future miracle? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if Eleanor's story moved you, subscribe to Real Hearts After 60 for more true stories of second chances, unexpected reunions, and the courage to love again, no matter your age. Because your heart, it's never too late for it to come alive again.